quick reminder before we get started to hit the subscribe button for more on the mind, body, and spirit. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ken, aka The Phoenix, and I'm in a dark room today. And that is because I'm really digging the GoPro, really digging being able to just pick up and record whenever I want and wherever I want to. Doubled down, got a couple of new GoPro batteries as well, just in case I am ever, in a bind and need to switch out batteries and don't have time to charge. But with the whole vlogging kit and everything, that should never, ever be a problem. It's more a case of just convenience, right? But you can never have too much in your kit, and yeah, that's a small update there. So the whole reason that I wanted to turn on the camera and go live is for two reasons. Number one is that it seems like what I've been talking about in my personal circle, as well as in the video that I did the other day, it essentially is starting to track. It's catching on, and that's one of the reasons that I felt compelled to turn the camera on and speak, is because I have done these channelings, right? I connect to spirit and I speak essentially with just Jesus now. Seems to be the trend, and I see other people doing the same. The message is consistent throughout multiple vectors, throughout multiple points. That is, of course, the whole aspect of collective consciousness, and that is something that I just absolutely adore, is that when I get these insights and people who don't even communicate in any way, shape, or form start saying the same stuff, it's like that validation. And it's not that I don't trust it. It just feels good to be validated. And while that could be like, something that could be considered an egocentric thing, I have spent most of my life having these paranormal experiences, speaking this message of unity, and the doing away with all of the different labels that create division, right? And I really have just dealt with skeptics most of my life. People telling me I sound crazy, or that it's, absolutely weak and cowardice of me to not pick a side in religion versus science. And, once I went on my own journey and found balance was the key, and I find other people that are doing that, and I see this message blossoming, it is just a very nice thing. It's relieving in a sense to know that I followed that inner voice, and I've trusted that intuition enough to just find the peace that I needed. And I had one of my friends today message me and tell me that that he's essentially come to Jesus. He's come to Christ, and this is someone who mocked him, made fun of the whole religious aspect his entire life. And what's funny is that as he himself was connecting to spirit in the same way that I do, he found the same thing that I did, that he was forgiven and just felt endless love, non-judgmental, just completely unconditional love, and he found out that it was okay. Yeah, it's fine. It was actually kind of funny. Is what Spirit told him, basically. And he's just like at that point now. And it feels really good. That's, I think, the second person now that I have helped overcome that hurdle. Now, I'm not going to take full credit, because obviously it was his own doing. And that led to that point. But he was semi-interested in what I was talking about anyways, and so I just kept giving them updates. My friends, I give them updates on what I experience and what I'm being told, and we just kind of decipher it out in between our group chat, and it is such a fulfilling thing. Another thing is, I had another friend of mine, Jake. Shout out to Jake. He watched my video the other day, and he had a fantastic theory about what the 1 week meant. And that 1 week, he was like, 7 days in a week. 7 in the Bible is a very holy number. And I was just like, oh my God, because, I talk about synchronicity a lot. I did in the past. Angel numbers is also what I have referred to them as well. But it's just repeating numbers that you see multiple times. And that is essentially how the universe is communicating something with you. I've learned, we're going to get back to the point, I promise, but I have learned throughout my life that instead of going to what I would do before is I would see the numbers, go to the blog that had everything, and it was an old blog, you can tell by that term, that they had an index of numbers and what they meant, and I just kind of read and would rely solely on that and what that meant. And then as I grew my intuition and my connection with spirit, I kind of realized that it's not a universal thing, right? Everyone needs their own communications. So what I did is I started using my intuition and just getting a general sense of, well, when I see this number combination, this is what this means. So, for instance, if you see something like 1001 or 1221 or something that is basically a reflection of itself, how I always interpret that is just the standard message that you get out of life what you put into it. Or that the world around you is a reflection of what is inside. So essentially, what you're consuming is what is affecting your emotions and your thoughts, and then that also affects your actions, and then that affects the world, your external reality. So that's one of my favorites. One that I've been seeing come up lately is like 12-12 or 13-13. 11-11 is something I've seen for years, but 10-10. And when I see those, what I get out of that is you're living in harmony. You're living your truth. That is not something that I had seen until recently. I had never seen that, and within the last year is when I've started seeing that come up, and that is what, boom, came out to me. Is that, and it, funny enough, that was around the time that I got off that old blog and started using my intuition to decipher what 444 or 555 or what have you, all of those meant. And a lot of times it just means that it's a good reminder that you're never alone. 1111 is basically reaching another step on your climb, on your growth pattern throughout life. And 777 is almost like a euphoric state where it's time to speak your truth. It's time to spread the light. It is, and that has been my mission for the longest time, is to spread the light, and that is what I've been doing. I just haven't been doing it through this capacity. I've instead been doing it on smaller portions. I started writing a guide almost in a notebook as to what that meant. Like they're just trying to decipher how I view God, how that affects everything else. And I try to break down sin, and I try to break down God. I try to break down Jesus. I try to break down, although there is no breaking anything down. And again, another quote from my friend Jake. When I told him I'm trying to break this down, he's like, you know what? I almost think that God is trying to break you down. And I'm like, that is crazy. Not breaking down as in a sense of break you down, I'm going to make you depressed and all that. More so in a sense of refining me. It's through intense pressure that you get refined and you become a better version of yourself, and so on and so forth. God is breaking me down to the basic elements and like just the basic core of myself so I can rebuild. And that's constantly what we're doing here, is we're breaking down, we're rebuilding, and that is the building blocks of life, if you will. And so yes, I have been seeing 777 so much lately. It's actually quite crazy. So the 1 week, Jake saying that makes sense, although I also like the idea of the 70th week of Daniel, which, although that's just the Great Tribulation, and that's not something that I want to be here for. If it is, fine, I'll do whatever I have to do. Because, I don't know. It's hard to think about that from a traditional sense. Like, I know it's coming, but I also know that I don't have to experience it. I can choose not to, which is what I've made my decision on that. And simply by choosing Christ and accepting the gift that was given. Which is why, I talk about this expanded Christianity thing, because I have done enough research and I have done the meditations and I have just dug deeper than the surface. And once you get just below the surface, like, you just go on this path of discovery and realize that the blind have been leading the blind forever, and that we are completely being hamstrung by our governments to be stupid. Basically, just be divided and fight each other. Fight, fight, fight. And it's no, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, those are the two things that I came on to talk about, and it is really nice. Just, it feels really good to be able to be talking about this stuff again, and to be able to see in action that I am spreading the light and that I am helping people come to peace. Am I taking all the credit? Absolutely not. Am I taking some credit? Sure, just because I played my role in that. But by all means, the credit, ultimately, all of it, goes to the individual who finds that peace, because they're the ones who chose to make that decision. Because accountability is the number one law of spiritual growth, of your spiritual existence. Accountability. Hold yourself accountability for your life, and you just will simply start making better decisions once you stop blaming other people or external factors. Control the controllables. That is probably my favorite phrase in all of existence. Control the controllables. And because, like, you can't control everything that happens to you, but you can absolutely control how you react to any situation. There's nothing easier than controlling your own emotions. You just pause. If you're feeling intense anger or an overwhelming emotion, just pause. There's nothing that 5 seconds is going to change dramatically. Nothing. Nothing emotional, okay? Absolutely nothing emotional. So take that pause when you're feeling intense emotions and actually just take a second to calm down and reflect. I can't tell you how many times I've saved myself massive headaches from simply taking a second, just taking a beat. But, this kind of is funny. This is going into what I was talking about the other day. This has kind of the same feeling, the same vibe, tendency. I don't know what word I'm searching for. It eludes me. But theme, I guess, was the word I'm looking for. It had the same theme as the previous video, in that I recorded one yesterday, and I was editing it. I was going to release it, but then I said the phrase, I feel like I've been coming off as preachy, and after, really taking a step back and thinking about it, I really haven't. I haven't. Why do I feel that way? It's because of how the external world views Jesus. And I don't get that. In a world full of tolerance, why... And you can be accepting of all other religions, but as soon as you bring up the name Jesus Christ, all of a sudden you want to get attacked. You can't tell me that ain't the darkness of the universe out there. You can't tell me that it's not like a demonic force coming and infesting the planet. Look, Jesus Christ existed. Plain as day. He's written about in Roman texts, historic Roman texts, not just, biblical fake news is what I'll call that. The Roman bastardization of the word of Jesus. He was actually written about in a letter about, but it was one mention, and he was causing upheaval. But that's what he was doing. He was a spiritual badass rebel, just going through and just creating this chaos against basically the established church at the time. And the Romans fucking hated him, clearly. Anyways, so he lived. He did all those things. And then it was the people, the normal freaking people of the world that have, I say this all the time, humans gonna human. We are imperfect, and we are definitely full of flaws, and we love to project. And that is what has happened. And so we've gone through this period where the Dark Ages happened, and the papacy was in charge, and they were killing people with Bibles, branding them as heretics. And the only way you could advance in a political game there was to be Christian. Well, at that point, it was actually Catholicism. It was just basically Catholics. And, you know, it's just so crazy how the papacy, the Roman papacy, is basically the most antichrist entity that has ever existed on this planet. And the reason for that is because they said they actually have a historic document that states that if Jesus was in one seat of the confessional and a priest or the Pope was in the other, and Jesus asked to be absolved of his sins, and the Pope asked to be absolved of his sins, they could each absolve each other, and it would mean the exact same thing. And that, my friends, is blasphemy of the highest degree. So the papacy not only was the most blasphemous thing out there, they then went on to murder millions of innocent people just for control and power. And so that is why when I say that that every single part of Christianity that I hated was the human aspect, that's why. It's basically the same thing when you boil it all the way down to the base form. This is going to sound crazy. But it basically is why you don't hate the other sports team's players exactly. You just want that team to fail because you hate the opposing sports fans. That's what it is. Fandoms create miserable people. Miserable people want to spread that misery. How do you fight the dark? By being the light. Bar none. That is it. And just don't be so angry when Jesus Christ is mentioned. He's actually a pretty cool dude. And I don't know, maybe you should get to know him. Maybe. I don't know. It's actually really crazy me saying these words when I reflect back and think about where I was a year ago. And fun fact, as I said in the video the other day, what led me to that was the replacement of the dark entity. The dark entity during a meditation told me it was going to leave, and then a light being came in the next day and told me that its name was Gabriel, and I recognized that as the archangel from the Bible, and I'm like, okay, well, this can't be, right? I must be going crazy. So that then sparked within me a distrust of all these entities that I've been speaking to, and I needed to get directly to the source. And then I spent the next 2 months, my etheric body was on a journey, man, and it was getting all this energy upgrades from elsewhere so I could get to this yogi on top of a plateau. And it was a statue. It was a giant statue, and like its energy was surging upwards into the sky. And when I basked in its energy for a couple days, and then bam, it just overcame me one night. I'm just sitting there in the physical world, living my physical life, and then all of a sudden I just feel this sense like you should connect. And I'm like, okay, I do that, and bam, I am in this light realm. And then who else is standing there but Jesus Christ? That is how I met the dude. And really facilitated this strong bond. That's not how I met him. Like, he has been around in my presence since 2022, but that was the first. That is a huge, major turning point when he was like, "You can trust me." Like, because I was calling out, "How can I trust all these things?" Bam. And then when I go after I posted that video the other day, I'm like, what was Gabriel? He was an archangel, right? I wanted to fact check myself. Sure enough, yeah, Gabriel's an archangel. And what does he do? He is a messenger that tells you the will of God. And is that not the case, that the will of God would want me to go back and show me that I can trust this connection? I'm telling you, when you go through this stuff, you can seem like you're crazy, but then you start getting synchronicities, you start getting messages and validations elsewhere that can't be coincidence, and then you start seeing the fruits of your labor, for the effects of your actions and your words on people finding this peace that they have not found before, and just seeing that light spread and knowing that you are on the right side and that you are helping combat the darkness. And hey, you can feel however you want to feel, right? That's not what I'm here to tell you about. But yeah, when it comes right down to it, and you get to that other side, I used to absolutely hate religion. I said I hated religion so much, and now, no, everyone's entitled to their own religious beliefs. It's just very interesting that as soon as Jesus Christ is mentioned, everyone's just like, oh boy, here we go. And you want to know what's funny? Is that the Bible says that in the end times, that there will be a massive falling away, and there will be tons of what they call scoffers. And that's where we're at right now. We have everyone, every time you mention his name, freak out. It's just incredible. And it's just absolutely incredible. And enough to make me want to pick up this camera and keep speaking, which is something that I honestly lost my passion for before. So I'm back, I guess, in a sense, is what I wanted to say. And you can expect me to just be around. Some days we'll be walking, other days we will just be somewhere else on the land, or just in a different room wherever I feel like recording at that day. But everyone, I want to thank you so much for watching. It really means the best to me. And how do you feel about this? Let me know in the comments. Let's start a dialogue. Let's actually speak. I would love to connect to some of you, so long as you're not trolling. If you are trolling, or if you come off as condescending or attacking, I will ignore you. I'm not going to delete your comment. I'm not going to thumbs it down, because I ultimately don't care. I will just respond to those who actually want to talk and actually have a good, respectful dialogue. But either way, guys, I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ken, aka The Phoenix, and I'll see you next time.